Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Look at this! The brother decides to stand up like a man and throw down. Too bad Willie Monroe had to get it first. You know when you said that last time? I was kinda tripping, right? But now you're right, I am crazy. But you know what else? What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. We working. 2017 has been great for boxing. We working. Now, I did a video about Billy Joe Saunders, his next fight. He's fighting the white Mike Tyson, and that's Aventil Curtise. Check that video out. Fight's coming up. It's going to be July 8th at the Copper Box Arena in London. Good fight for the middleweight division. As you guys know, Canelo versus Golovkin. That's the major middleweight fight happening September 16th. Now, they did a face-off, and it was kind of weird. They Saunders was calling Aventil Curtise puffed up Danny DeVito at one point, but then in this press conference, he was like making jokes and he hugged him. But he basically believes that Aventil has power, but he can't touch him when it comes to boxing. And more importantly, what you guys see in the title, we'll get straight to it. He said some very interesting things about Gennady Golovkin, and I want you guys to drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. And he basically alluded to Gennady Golovkin has slowed down based on him having to do recent drug tests in his fights with, I think he did drug tests with Lemieux, Jacobs, and etc. Right? And I'm going to read a direct quote from Billy Joe Saunders. They asked him about the Canelo-Golovkin, hey, no, guys, versus I was born ready. Right? They're asking him about the fight. Obviously, it's in his division, and he's the missing link. If he beats Aventil Curtise, he remains a champion, and that will be the piece of the puzzle. Let's say Golovkin beats Canelo. That'll be the only belt he doesn't have at middleweight, and nobody else has a version of the belt, the WBO belt at middleweight that Saunders has. So he's the missing link if he can hold on to that belt and get past Curtise. Now, the direct quote, Saunders says that he believes it's going to be a close fight. I think that it's going to be a close fight. I thought Golovkin would win comfortably at first, but Canelo's got a few tricks. It all depends if Golovkin's got a bit old, isn't he? His last fight, let's face it, he wasn't the best Golovkin that we've seen 2 or 3 years ago. He's slowed down a bit. But also, my opinion is that something to do with having, my opinion on this, he had 5 drug tests. And that's my opinion on the stuff that happens in America. So I don't think he boxed to his best ability because it's a fair playing field. So obviously that's a slight saying, hey, now that you're doing VADA testing and it's on an even playing field, your performances don't look as monstrous. And I want to know from you guys what you think. A lot of people thought he was exposed to a degree versus Kell Brook. A lot of people thought he lost his last fight. And it's a lot of people that had Danny Jacobs winning. I interviewed Adrian Broner. He said I was screaming, go DJ, Daniel Jacobs, DJ, like I was Lil Wayne. Deontay Wilder, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Canelo Alvarez, all of those guys, you guys can do your research, your fact checks, had Golovkin losing and had Daniel Jacobs winning. It was a close fight. It was a competitive fight. I covered the fight live, but you know what I mean? It was a good fight. It was a good middleweight fight, but people thought in his last 2 performances, Golovkin didn't look the same. Now, as far as, I'm not going to accuse somebody off of being on Peds and stuff when I don't know any situation. I'm not naive. I understand that what goes on in the underworlds of boxing and just professional sports in general, but that's just not my getup. I don't really do that. But Billy Joe Saunders, he feels that is the case. And I don't know what it is, but Billy Joe Saunders has definitely gotten bold recently. Maybe he feels he really could beat Golovkin now, but he wasn't talking like none of this last year. He was talking about, oh yeah, I want a couple of things me way and bring him to the UK. Now he's talking about I'll fight him in Kazakhstan. I got my pin. Your performance ain't on the same level because you're doing drug testing now. So I don't know. Big allegations, big claims, but right now he has to focus on Aventil Curtise. Curtise is a beast. You know what I mean? He's a sleeper, spoiler type. Antoine Douglas, a rising prospect, was not slated to lose to him, things like that. And then the last guy, Tommy Langford, I think was actually supposed to fight or did fight Chris Eubank, but he got knocked out by him. So Aventil is no joke. He's trained by Jacobs' trainer, Andre Rozier, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to know what you guys think of Billy Joe Saunders and his claims. Who are you picking versus the Canelo-Golovkin fight? Do you think Golovkin has slowed down? Like I said, for me, it's everything's speculation until they fail a drug test or whatever. So I'm not naive. I understand that things go on, but I can't just point the finger and say this is the reason. Because the other thing, you got to look at it for Golovkin. I'm not saying he did or didn't because I'm not in his camp, so I don't know what he does. But I will say this: he's also in the fights where he was quote unquote exposed. He's fighting far better, far more credible, far more skilled guys. I think Kell Brook, even as a welterweight moving up, is more skilled than like a Dominique Wade. Dominique Wade, I heard, and I'm not even going to reveal sources, but I know people that know him from the amateurs, and they said he's always had kind of a lousy work ethic, you know what I mean? And he never really fully dedicated himself and applied himself to the sport of boxing. I heard that from, put it this way, it's from a factual, or not a factual, it's from a fighter who recently won, has had a big win this year. Right, but again, I'm not going to put people's business out. That's just what I heard. That's, you know what I mean, could be hearsay or whatever. But guys like Willie Monroe and all the guys Golovkin was supposed to be, the Martin Murrays, Matthew Macklin, those guys didn't really have much of a chance. Those guys were like heavy underdogs, 50-1, 40-1, 80-1 underdogs. So Kell Brook, even as a guy moving up, he has ability. You know what I mean? He's fighting Errol Spence, which is a fight he might be able to win, and that's against a hot shot rising prospect also. You know what I mean? And then Daniel Jacobs, people were doing too much and counting him out and saying, oh, but what about Dimitri Pirog and this and that? But look at the resiliency he's had since then. So you guys let me know what you think. I do think Golovkin has, in his last couple fights, his last 3 fights are better than any guys that he's ever fought. Canelo, Danny Jacobs, and Kell Brook, that's better than anyone he was previously fighting in terms of who they are, in terms of their skills, in terms of what they bring to the table to offset what he does well, in terms of the momentum they carry. You know what I mean? Danny Jacobs, not too long ago, knocked out Peter Quillen, who was undefeated, who had beaten guys like Hassan N'Dam before, David Lemieux. He had beaten Winky Wright, even though he's off a hiatus. He had the fights with, like, what's his name? Gabe Rosado, Peter Quillen. You know what I'm saying? He's a heavy hitter and stuff, and Jacobs knocked him out. You know what I mean? Canelo just beat the shit out of Chavez Jr. So clearly the last 3 opponents that Golovkin has faced, the competition has been elevated. You know what I mean? And those guys carry more momentum than any previous Golovkin opponent. Like Willie Monroe, 6 knockouts. He's a good fighter. He's a tricky fighter, but he had beat Brian Vera, I think, via split decision. Dominique Wade had beat Sam Solomon, who has double-digit losses, 11 or 12 losses, and a bum knee. You know what I mean? And he beat him, Dominique Wade. That's the last fight he had. He had like a split decision win over Sam Solomon, a 41-year-old with the bum leg. And that's the fight that put him in the mandatory position to fight Golovkin. So Kell Brook was undefeated welterweight, even though he was moving up. Danny Jacobs had tons of momentum and had a version of the WBA belt. And now Canelo moves up, young, strong, 26, seems to keep improving since the Mayweather loss, and he just beat the shit out of Chavez Jr. Let me know what you think of Billy Joe Saunders. BJS, that's a suspect name, but let me know what you guys think of BJ and his comments to Gennady Golovkin. Drop them in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.